Seahawks fans, wherever you may be, thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Seahawks fans, welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers, here to talk Seahawks football, and we're going to preview the Seahawks visiting the Detroit Lions this Sunday. Try to get that game against the Rams purged from the system, go into the Lions as an underdog now. We always knew this game was going to be competitive. I think on our prediction show, I think I had it as a win. I can't remember exactly where you were at with this. It may have been
I also had
loss.
it as a win, but
okay.
that was before Seattle lost both of its starting offensive tackles.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today. Keith, welcome in.
Yeah, Seahawks got to get things figured out because the Lions are coming off a big win, beating the Kansas City Chiefs.
That was
now
a great
the Seahawks,
game, by the way.
What?
That was a great game.
It was a great game. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so you've got that's a good team coming off a big win. Now the Seahawks have to go on the road, coming off a bad loss, and you don't want to go 0-2. That you don't want any part of going 0-2. This is a real important game for Seattle.
Yeah. You know, when I came into this season, I looked at the Lions as being basically the same sort of team on the upward swing, well coached. The Lions did well last year, had a formidable offense. The Seahawks had a formidable offense coming into the season. That there were questions on the defense, but it looks like the Lions took a couple more steps forward than maybe the Seahawks did this season. Now, it's early, and I don't want to, completely rule out the Seahawks turning it around and completely having a great season. But what I'm saying is the Lions are going to have a great season. You can just see it. You saw it against the Kansas City Chiefs, diminished Chiefs, nonetheless, good team.
Well-coached team.
Well-coached team. The Lions are crazy. The fans are really excited for this team. The Lions have sold out their home opener for the first time in 41 years. They're very excited about the team, and rightly so. They were one of the hottest teams down the stretch. Jared Goff is turned into a really good quarterback. I'm not going to say he's top 10 in the NFL, but he's borderline.
Yeah, he's become really steady. He's not a dynamic playmaker. No one's going to confuse him for Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or Mahomes or anything. But he doesn't make a lot of mistakes like he used to. He completing a high percentage of his passes. He's not forcing the ball. He's really doing what Dan Campbell wants him to do, and it's working. I mean, it really is working.
It's everything that Minnesota wanted out of Kirk Cousins for a very long time, and they've got it in Jared Goff in Detroit. He was 14 touchdowns to interception ratio at the end of the season last year, the final 7 games, finishing 29-7 overall. I think he can improve that this year. I like his weapons. They added a really nice tight end in Sam Laporta that we both liked in the draft. He backed that up last week against the Chiefs, went 23 of 35 for 253 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. Third longest streak in the NFL for lack of interceptions at 359 passes currently. The Lions were 5th in points scored last year at 453 and 4th in yards overall at 6,460. Last week, David Montgomery was at a primary back, which surprised me a little bit. Well, not much, but David Montgomery's a good back, good, solid physical back. 21 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Jamari Gibbs is the kid to watch, I think, emerge in this game against the Seahawks, unfortunately. had 7 carries, 42 yards, but he's the dynamic guy. He's the guy with the blistering speed, a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield and really cause damage from anywhere on the field, home run kind of threat. I look to the Lions to try to get him the ball more. Montgomery's that steady between the tackles guy that can pound you, but Jamari Gibbs is the home run guy, and I think that the Lions are going to look to that as well. Last year was a shootout, Keith. I'm not sure what's going to happen in this game, but I think the Lions know that that's the winning formula for them.
Yeah, so that's part of it, and then I think I don't want to overstate the offense for the Detroit Lions, because if you look back to last week's game, yeah, they beat a good Chiefs team, but they also scored 2 offensive touchdowns in the entire game, and it's not like they were way out in front and just trying to run the clock out. They were behind for a big chunk of that game. So I don't know. Now Gibbs also, like you said, didn't get the run that I think everyone expected him to get, and eventually that will happen. He's just a more dynamic player. I hope it's not this week.
I hear you on that. I think that the Rams had a strategy going in, and you take a look at David Montgomery, and that was their strategy. They were going to try to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, control the clock. They did that. They had the ball for 33 minutes to Kansas City's 27. You never see that. Kansas City's always dominating, or they're just scoring a ton of points quickly. The defense for Detroit is interesting. That's where I think their season hinges. Their offense is going to be great, no doubt about that. But they were 28th in points allowed last year, and dead last in yards allowed at 392. That's a bunch. They are a blitz happy team. They blitz 35% of the time. I think league average is closer to 25%. We could see some of that on Sunday,
especially without your starting 2 offensive tackles.
And then you've got Aiden Hutchinson. I think that's the key advantage for the Lions on the defense is their defensive line. Aiden Hutchinson is he could be lined up against 41-year-old Jason Peterson, Keith. Or Jason Peters, sorry.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, that's scary, especially a guy that hasn't practiced. I'm not even sure if he's in game shape. And now you're going to run him out there against Hutchinson. That's not going to go well.
Yeah. And John Comiskey on the other side, to be completely honest, is totally underrated. Underrated guy. I've always liked him. Benito Jones, their nose tackle, is also very accomplished. Alim McNeil is the other guy in there. Just a nice, skilled defensive line. It's not overwhelming, but it's enough to do the trick. And then they've got Jack Campbell at middle linebacker. He's not starting, but he's playing a lot. Derek Barnes is in there full time. They've got a decent secondary too. One of my favorite players in the NFL is CJ Gardner-Johnson. Just a physical, fun ball hockey kind of free safety in the NFL. And they got Brian Branch too, kid we liked in the draft. He's playing nickel for them. So I see an active secondary backed up with a really nice punch on the front end of their defense to kind of cause issues. Now, can Seattle overcome those things? Yeah, Seattle's got a dynamic offense. I think they're going to need to work on getting the ball out quickly this week. And I don't know exactly
until the tackles get back.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I really don't. I'm kind of discombobulated a little bit with Seattle's offense. They really threw me for a loop last week of not being successful at all. Now, the first half, they looked good. I thought they would build on that. In the second half, they didn't. I don't know what to expect now with this Seahawks team. Do you have any idea what is going to show up on Sunday?
No, I don't. And that's a problem. And I figured that we'd know. I mean, we had all of training camp to, watch practices. We had the preseason, and then they came out in, the game against the Rams and just weren't the same team, and they weren't good. That's the problem. I expect them to kind of get back to what we saw and what we thought we were going to get. A team with more motion, pre-snap on offense, more moving Geno Smith around post-snap, so that way he's not just dropping straight back, especially with the tackles out. And, getting guys open, not by just saying, here, go get open, but like scheming guys open. I really think that we're going to get more of that, and that'll be helpful. Also wonder if, they might be able to take advantage of the fact that Emmanuel Mosley is not going to play. So that's a big loss at cornerback for the Lions. And
we watched the Seahawks run some screenplays in preseason as well as in camp, like over and over. They practiced over and over and over again. If there's a way to slow down a pass rush, that would be it. Seattle's just never been very successful at it, and so it's never been part of their game plan. But if it is part of their game plan, if it is in the playbook and they feel comfortable and confident running those plays, this is the week.
Yeah, they tried one last week and it got completely blown up, and that's never a good thing. I don't know. I think that it's that some screens, some
Jackson
quick
Smith
throws.
and Jigba could be a playmaker in this game.
Yeah, Jason didn't have as big a game as I thought he would last week, and I'm really hoping that he comes through with a bigger game, a much bigger performance this week, and because the team needs him to. They're gonna need guys to get open and get open quickly, especially in the middle of the field. And he can do that.
So
he can do that as well as anyone.
There's two philosophies that we've seen the Seahawks adapt to win against certain teams in certain situations. And the overarching thing that's come into my mind this week as we prepare for this show and for this game is the idea of establishing the run and continuing to go to the run, even if you're down by 7-10 points early, prior to the midway point of the third quarter. I think it's going to be important to try to keep somewhat of control on the clock, because Detroit can just score at will. At times against certain defenses, and Seattle needs to kind of control this thing a little bit, I think, in order to have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially because you look at the first half when Seattle's offense started clicking and really did some good things. Ken Walker was having a big game, was doing really well. And so if you can get that going, keep Detroit's offense off the field, not that you're like, oh, we have to treat him like he's Mahomes or something, but it's more of a get him off the field so that way he can't get into that rhythm and he can't get that thing going, because I think if he was sitting on the sidelines and he's coming in cold and coming in with pressure, he's likely to be, Jared Goff. And so being able to run the ball, put up some points on the ground, that kind of stuff will be a big deal, and it will slow the pass rush down.
So this team, Seahawks, minus 2 starting tackles, Keith, how weakened and diminished does that make the team realistically? Can somebody come in? Can a Jason Peters come in and at least hold down that side, allow Curhan to play on the right side, and see what happens? I mean, do we still have a chance?
Yeah, of course we have a chance. But it's the defense has to step up and play better, and the offense has to be more conservative and do some things to take the pressure off the backup tackles. That's just what it's going to have to be.
So conservative meaning not take your shots down the field.
Well, yeah, don't run back straight back. A 7-step drop and expect to stand back there and wait for long routes to develop, it's not because they're not going to develop. You're going to get smacked. And so get the ball out faster, which means a lot more shorter passes, that kind of thing.
Interesting. So on the defense, when you're going up against Montgomery and Jamari Gibbs, what can we expect the Seahawks to do as far as defending the run in this game?
I think what I'm going to expect is a lot of what they did this last week. You're going to see them play pretty well. I mean, they've got kind of the guys to do it, up front and at linebacker, and I think they're going to be fine as far as that goes. I would be more worried about Jamari Gibbs, running a wheel route and catching a big play down the sideline than I am watching him, run up the middle.
Okay, so with that said, are you thinking that the Seahawks run more nickel and dime defense in this game as a percentage, or do you stay in base more so that you can defend the run first and then worry about those sorts of routes later on?
I mean, I would stay in base early in the game. I think that having those guys on the field, having both Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner out there against, this rushing attack is going to be useful. I also think that if they do pass, you got to send someone. And so that helps too. If you go to nickel, right? So who comes back? Who comes on? That's my question.
I think it's going to be Witherspoon now. He's ready to go.
If it's Kobe Bryant, I'm not interested. If it's Trey Brown, I'm not that interested. But Trey Brown may still start. Both of those guys, I haven't liked what I've seen from in the preseason or in this first game. Now, if Mike Jackson's back out there and you're bringing Witherspoon in, okay, I can get behind that a little bit. What I really want is to see Witherspoon out there as a starter, and so you get the best players on the field, and then go from there.
So, not that you know this answer, but you've been around football long enough. What went on in the meetings at the VMAC this week?
A lot of head shaking. A lot of people watching and just being like, oh, why did we do that? Because there were a lot of mental mistakes, especially on defense. And that's the kind of stuff that's like it just kills you. And so I think they're going to see there was a lot of that. I don't think there was a lot of yelling and screaming. I don't think there was a lot of finger pointing. I think there was just a lot of disappointment in themselves. And a lot of coaches just nodding their head at everyone's disappointment, going, yeah, that's what we need to see. Now let's get out there and work our asses off and not do that again.
So do you think in that building and the players, this is very early, the players respect all the coaches and the scheme and feel like it was more of a execution issue?
There didn't seem to be any of that last year where they were questioning the scheme or anything. And I don't think it's, there's enough now for them to be doing that. The fact that the front was much more active. They weren't trying to two gap, that kind of stuff. They were getting penetration and tackles for loss, especially against the run. I think that's the kind of stuff that's going to be questioned if they're asking guys to two gap and be passive, like they were at times last year. I think the coverage can work. Guys just got to do it well, and they haven't been.
So I looked at the grades for Mario Edwards. You singled him out, I think, in our reaction show initially as being a guy maybe that didn't step up and do a job. He actually had a 70 Pro Football Focus grade overall. Graded out the second best defender on the defense. Okay,
and he can play the run well. He's part of why the Rams struggled to run the ball, because he did a good job getting penetration, setting an edge when he needed to, pursuing that kind of stuff, staying disciplined. He did a good job with that, but he didn't, and he's not going to. He's just not going to light up a stat sheet, and he's not going to create a lot of pressure and that kind of stuff. And they really need more help in the passing game, and that's not who he is.
So the one guy that they brought in to do that very thing, to provide more help, was Draymond Jones. And Draymond Jones was not a guy that stepped up in this game. Had a couple of tackles and no pressures, no quarterback hits, no sacks in his first game in a Seahawks uniform. What do you expect from the Seahawks pass rush? What did you expect going into the season? What changes do you expect to see in this game?
Well, I expected them to be just flat out better. They had, no sacks and like four quarterback hits or in the entire game. That can't continue. I expected them to be better just across the board. And I think that, even if Dre Jones,
the Lions,
even if Dre Jones
actually
doesn't have sacks, I expect him to be, it's because they're double teaming him, and that opens up, and you see Boye Mafe coming in, fairly clean, and getting stuff. And so then it becomes pick your poison for the other team, where it's like, okay, but if we don't double Dre Jones, then he's going to be the guy in the backfield. I need to see that. Like, that needs to be what's happening.
Is there an argument to be made to load up the box more in this game than fall back into a dime package where you've got six defenders, six defensive backs on the field?
I don't think so. I think it's more balanced than that, because Detroit, they've got running backs and a pretty good running game, but they also throw the ball a lot, even if it's short underneath stuff. And you can't just, load up the box with your run stuffers and expect that to get it done.
Well, they don't. The reason that I ask that is they don't really have quote unquote run stuffers on this team, if you will. I would replace that guy, the run stuffer, with a guy that could actually get penetration to affect the pocket, to rush the passer, to send on a blitz package or whatever. We didn't see a lot of that against the Lions. Do you think that maybe we see a little bit more exotic looks in this game?
God, I hope so. Because they did, like I said, they up front, they just had their guys. They all rushed, straight forward over and over again, and it didn't generate the pressure I think they thought it was going to. They need to do something else. They need to just be a little bit more dynamic in terms of what they're doing. Where you have stunts where the tackle is, goes on the outside and it opens up the lane on the inside for the defensive end. You've got to do that kind of stuff sometimes to keep people off balance, create pressure, get guys thinking, and they just did not do enough of it.
Let's talk and finish this show out talking about Geno Smith, the wide receivers and tight ends in this game. Let's set aside the ability to pass block and so forth from the tackles for just a minute and talk about the way that you'd like to see Geno Smith respond to his second half performance, to the offense's second half performance against the Rams in this game to give us a shot.
Well, there were a few plays. Like, I'm sure everyone remembers the 3rd and 4, and he throws it 40 yards downfield at DK, but doesn't even give him a shot because it's way out of bounds. Like, that's the kind of thing that you can't do. That's even if you're going to make that throw, at least give your guy a chance to catch it.
It's a long punt if you don't succeed anyway, so give a guy a shot.
Yeah.
Especially DK, for sure.
And so there was some decision making that was questionable in the second half by Geno, not just on that play, but others. I would like to see him calm down a little bit and do a better job of just knowing down and distance, finding an open guy, just stop forcing the ball, because he did a couple times where he was just like that one, just trying to get the ball to DK, and
At some point, you do get frustrated. I can see that. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Your pass rushers are getting to you. Your offensive line's breaking down. You know it. So you just kind of have to take your shots, even if it's a 40% chance or a 30% chance, just because, you know, your back's against the wall. I get it. But, okay, talk to me about the receivers. What can we do in this game to scheme our guys open and do it quickly? We're going to have to probably get the ball out in 2 to 2.5 seconds max.
Well, I think what you should see is the receivers a little tighter to the formation, so that way.
So no, you're not going to spread the defense out further to help your pass rush.
I don't think so. I think I'm going to bring them in a little tighter in that creates more space outside for a guy like Lockett, or where you can, you know, get the ball out to him because there's nobody out there, and that kind of thing. So you can do that. You can run slants.
That's somewhat risky, especially with a guy like CJ Gardner Johnson. I mean, that guy's very active and anticipates really well. If you're throwing outs, I mean, you can get picked off.
And you can throw to the other side of the field where Mosley is not playing.
True. And you're hoping that Njigba's got single coverage.
Yeah, and you've also got
or Jake Bobo.
Well, and if you're doing that, especially if you run in, you know, stacks or bunch formations there on the inside, you can get guys a clean release, whether it be outside or in. And if you can get them a clean release and get them some separation, you can get them on a quick slant. You can get them on a short cross and get those.
The Seahawks run a lot of different things out of the similar formations. I don't see a lot of trips formations and all that kind of stuff. It's stacked formations for wide receivers in this offense.
Yeah,
everything's kind of spread out, you know, quite a bit, and then there's motion. So you're saying if we can initiate some stacking, some trips right or left, get guys, you know, out of the same route tree initially, and then just spread out from there, we can get at least one of those guys open.
Yeah, I've always liked that idea, especially in a situation where you've got to throw the ball early, because you know the pass rush is gonna suffer. And if you run, you get in a stack or a bunch formation, one of the guys is going to get a clean release and be open. You pretty much can't stop it, and it's just a matter of the quarterback constantly making the right read and getting the ball to the right person quickly. And a lot of times you wouldn't trust, there are a lot of quarterbacks out there you don't trust to do that too often. But Gino's shown, he showed last year, he made a lot of those, kind of plays and did them well. And I'd like to, give him the opportunity to make a lot of those reads because I think he can do it.
This is a game where, like last game, Will Disley, I thought started really well, had a couple of receptions over the middle, out of similar formations, quick throws, quick reads, first reads actually. And I just think that Seattle would benefit a lot if Disley and Fant really got into this game and had 10, 12 targets combined. I think that they would find some success there and get some rhythm and move the chains. And really that's all you want out of this game. Now, win or lose, I don't know. I honestly don't know. We'll have a prediction here in a second. But you've got to change the ability to convert on third downs and to have a chance in this game. You just do. I don't know if you're going to end up having time to go over the top. And if you don't have time to go over the top, you're going to have to win going down the field in small little chunk plays. 5, 6 yards, 3 yards, another 6, 7 yards. That may be the way that they need to score in this game. So
are you willing to play that game and have it be where you need a 12 or 13 play drive to score?
When's the last time that we were successful at a game like that? I can't remember for sure.
This offense, especially with guys like DK and Lockett, kind of built for creating explosive plays.
Yeah.
And so,
but we also have an opportunity here, Keith. We've got guys like Ken Walker and DJ Dallas, and even Charbonnet. Guys like Lockett, Metcalf, and Jigba. Even Bobo is a chain mover. Noah Fant, Disley, Parkinson's a red zone guy. We've got guys that can actually execute. And Gino's a good quarterback. He spreads the ball around. He can get the ball out quick. We do have the ability, I think, personnel-wise, to be able to do that. But you're right. We do get impatient, it seems. And we kind of launch it. And we kind of kill drives that way, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at some point
you got to take what the defense gives you. And if that's what Detroit's going to give you, you got to take it. At least initially, the first couple quarters, you've got to be able to run the ball, get the ball to your tight ends, short yardage conversions, third downs, to give yourself a chance in the second half to take some of those shots. I think that's it for me. Yeah. I mean, that's the only way in this game. You've got to control the ball for at least 30 minutes in this game. Last game, we had the ball for 20 minutes. Okay. Yeah. The Rams had it for 40 minutes.
The
that
20 to 40 split can't happen in any game.
No.
And if it does, you're almost certainly going to lose.
All right. Talk to me. How you feeling?
Honestly, I don't think I'm as pessimistic about this game as you seem to be. As we're talking here, I think the Seahawks can make a lot of little changes and get some stuff done. I think the offense can do some stuff where you're taking the backup tackles and you're giving them a little help, at least initially, and then letting the tight end release, and that kind of stuff. I think you can make it work. And I see this game being a lot lower scoring than last year's game, but still,
I do too.
But still coming out with something like a 24-21 Seattle.
Yeah, I'm thinking 27-23. Unfortunately, I've got Detroit, and the reason that I say that is, Detroit's average. You're gonna probably allow 23 to 25 yards a game. I think our tackles do affect what we try to do. It just is what it is. I do see us scoring, a decent amount in this game. It's not going to be like last game. I worry about our defense, their ability to convert on third downs. Again, an emphasis point from Pete Carroll this year. And I think we fall short yet again against a very difficult offense to do that against. If we can control third downs and they're like 2 for 12 or 2 for 10 or something like that in the game, I think we win.
Oh yeah. They're 2 for 10. If they're 2 for 10, Seattle wins.
Yeah, if they're 8 for
easy.
14 or something like that, that's way too many opportunities, way too much success, and I don't think that we can overcome that. I think I used to be able to think that we meaning 2 weeks ago, when we were a full team with no health considerations, I thought our offense could go and shoot against anybody, and now I just don't know. I don't. That one game has thrown me into doubt. I just don't know if we can or not. And part of that, too, is the defense. Our defense needs to be able to generate turnovers and give the offense more opportunities. If we can do that in this game, if a guy like Witherspoon comes in and has an immediate effect with the players around him, Quandre Diggs can trust more that guys are going to be in their own positions, and Quandre can go scoop around the outside perimeter and the deep 30%. And generate some punch outs and some turnovers, we got a shot. But I got to see that first, and then I'll be more confident. But I'm not completely pessimistic. I was definitely in therapy with you on the shows because I was wanting to talk things out and kind of get in your head and really kind of figure out if we're as bad as we looked. And I don't think we are, but I've got to see it to believe it. I'm in that spot.
Yeah. So you got the team falling to 0-2.
I do. And boy, that's
a hard hole to dig out of.
It is not at all what I wanted or what I predicted. I predicted 2-0 after two games. I would love to be wrong. I will come back here and I will do a dance. If I'm wrong and the team rights the ship and we win with 2 replacement tackles and the offense is still dynamic and Geno Smith came up big, and the defense came up big, man, that'd be a celebration. I'd be happy. But it's really hard to kind of turn your team 180 degrees in 1 week, from that performance that we saw last Sunday to something completely opposite. That would be a coaching miracle. And we'll see. Maybe they got it in them. I hope they do.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that cleaning up, there's just so many little things that led to that defensive performance. I think you can clean up a bunch of them because they're not huge.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that would have made a massive difference in that game.
I'd like to see that most of all. I get the defensive back thing. Most of all, I'd like to see that in the pass rush. We need to generate pressures. There's no excuse not to have at least 10 pressures in the game. There's no excuse not to have at least 3 sacks. There's just not. This is the NFL. You got to play, and we got some good players. You go down the list. It's like this isn't the scrap heap, guys. This is like these guys should be able to get it done. And I fully expect that. So we'll see. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go for a win. Let's get it. Come on. Come on, guys.
Yep.
All right. Find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. You can find me at NW Seahawk. The show is Seahawks Playbook podcast. You can find it on your podcast platform of choice, as well as our YouTube channel, and hit that subscribe button. So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.